Hey everyone, so here's a question. What if I told you that eating tomatoes every single day could actually change your body in some pretty remarkable ways? I'm not talking about some trendy superfood hype here. I'm talking about real, measurable changes backed by actual science. Tomatoes are one of those foods that most of us eat regularly, without really thinking about what they're doing inside our bodies. But when you look at the research, it's actually pretty fascinating. Today, we're breaking down exactly what happens when you eat tomatoes every day, from your cardiovascular system to your skin, and even some surprising effects you probably haven't heard about. So let's dive into the science, the lycopene effect. All right, so the star of the show when it comes to tomatoes is a compound called lycopene. This is a powerful antioxidant that gives tomatoes their red color, and it's one of the most researched phytochemicals out there. Here's what's really interesting. A meta-analysis published in the journal Neurology analyzed 21 studies and found that people with the highest lycopene intake had a 26% lower risk of stroke, compared to those with the lowest intake. That's a significant difference. But how does lycopene actually work? When you eat tomatoes regularly, lycopene accumulates in your bloodstream and tissues. A study in the British Journal of Nutrition found that after just 2 weeks of daily tomato consumption, participants showed significantly increased lycopene levels in their blood, and this correlated with reduced oxidative stress markers. Oxidative stress is basically when your cells are under attack from free radicals, which are unstable molecules that damage your cells and contribute to aging and disease. Lycopene neutralizes these free radicals before they can cause damage. What's really cool is that your body absorbs lycopene better when tomatoes are cooked. A study in the Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry found that cooking tomatoes increases lycopene bioavailability by 35% because heat breaks down the cell walls and makes the lycopene more accessible. So that pasta sauce, that tomato soup, or those roasted tomatoes you're eating, they're actually giving you more lycopene than raw tomatoes would. Heart health benefits. Let's talk about what's happening to your cardiovascular system when you eat tomatoes every day. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed over 1,000 men for 12 years and found that those with the highest blood lycopene levels had a 55% lower risk of having a stroke or heart attack compared to those with the lowest levels. That's more than cutting your risk in half. But it's not just about lycopene. Tomatoes are rich in potassium, with a medium tomato containing about 292 milligrams. A systematic review in the BMJ found that increased potassium intake is associated with a 24% lower risk of stroke. Potassium helps regulate blood pressure by counteracting the effects of sodium and relaxing blood vessel walls. When you're eating tomatoes daily, you're essentially giving your cardiovascular system a consistent supply of these protective compounds. There's also evidence for cholesterol improvement. A study published in the British Journal of Nutrition had participants consume tomato products daily for 8 weeks. The results showed a significant reduction in LDL cholesterol, that's the bad cholesterol, by about 10%. The researchers attributed this to lycopene's ability to inhibit cholesterol synthesis in the liver. Skin protection. Here's something that might surprise you. Eating tomatoes can actually protect your skin from sun damage. Before you cancel your sunscreen order, let me explain. A study in the British Journal of Dermatology had participants consume tomato paste daily for 12 weeks. When researchers exposed their skin to UV light, they found that the tomato group had 40% less skin reddening compared to the control group. This doesn't mean tomatoes replace sunscreen, but it suggests they provide internal photoprotection. The mechanism here is fascinating. Lycopene accumulates in your skin tissue and acts like an internal sunscreen by absorbing UV radiation and neutralizing the free radicals that UV exposure creates. Research in the Journal of Nutrition found that after 10 weeks of daily tomato consumption, participants had significantly higher lycopene concentrations in their skin and showed improved skin texture and reduced roughness. If you're enjoying this deep dive into tomato science, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm show this content to more people who are curious about nutrition and health. Cancer prevention research. Now let's talk about one of the most studied areas, cancer prevention. A meta-analysis published in Scientific Reports analyzed 42 studies and found that high tomato consumption was associated with an 11% reduced risk of prostate cancer for men eating tomatoes more than twice a week. The risk reduction was even more significant at around 18%. The prostate seems particularly responsive to lycopene. Research published in Cancer Epidemiology, Biomarkers and Prevention found that men with higher blood lycopene levels had significantly lower rates of aggressive prostate cancer. Scientists believe this is because lycopene can interfere with cancer cell growth and promote apoptosis, which is basically programmed cell death in abnormal cells. But it's not just prostate cancer. A large cohort study in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute found associations between tomato consumption and reduced risk of stomach and lung cancers as well. The research suggests that the combination of lycopene, vitamin C, and other antioxidants in tomatoes creates a synergistic protective effect against cellular mutations, digestive and gut health. When you eat tomatoes every day, you're also supporting your digestive system. Tomatoes contain both soluble and insoluble fiber. One medium tomato has about 1.5 grams of fiber, which might not sound like much, but it adds up. A study in the World Journal of Gastroenterology found that regular tomato consumption promoted beneficial gut bacteria growth. Tomatoes also contain compounds that support stomach health. Research published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry found that lycopene has protective effects against Helicobacter pylori, the bacteria responsible for most stomach ulcers and a risk factor for stomach cancer. The study showed that lycopene could reduce H. pylori colonization and inflammation in the stomach lining. Potential considerations. Now, before you start eating 5 pounds of tomatoes a day, let's talk about some considerations. For most people, eating tomatoes daily is completely safe and beneficial. However, some individuals might experience issues. Tomatoes are naturally acidic with a pH between 4.3 and 4.9, and for people with acid reflux or GERD, this acidity can trigger symptoms. A study in the Digestive Diseases and Sciences journal found that acidic foods were among the top triggers for reflux symptoms in susceptible individuals. There's also something called oral allergy syndrome, where people allergic to grass pollens might experience itching or tingling when eating raw tomatoes. This affects about 2% of adults. According to research in clinical and translational allergy, cooking tomatoes usually eliminates this problem because heat breaks down the allergenic proteins. Some people worry about oxalates in tomatoes contributing to kidney stones. While tomatoes do contain oxalates, they're actually relatively low compared to foods like spinach or rhubarb. A study in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology found that dietary calcium intake matters more than oxalate restriction for most kidney stone formers. Optimal consumption. So what's the optimal amount? Most studies showing health benefits use amounts equivalent to about 1 to 2 medium tomatoes per day, or roughly 200 to 400 grams. This could be fresh tomatoes, cooked tomatoes, tomato sauce, or even tomato juice. The key is consistency rather than massive quantities. Combining tomatoes with healthy fats enhances lycopene absorption. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that eating tomatoes with olive oil increased lycopene absorption by up to 400% compared to eating them alone. So that Mediterranean diet combination of tomatoes and olive oil isn't just delicious, it's scientifically smart. So there you have it. When you eat tomatoes every day, you're giving your body a consistent supply of powerful antioxidants that protect your cardiovascular system, potentially reduce cancer risk, shield your skin from UV damage, support your gut health, and fight inflammation throughout your body. The research is pretty clear that tomatoes are one of those foods that genuinely earn their superfood reputation. The beauty of tomatoes is their versatility. Whether you're eating them raw in salads, cooked in sauces, roasted as a side dish, or blended into soups, you're getting these benefits. And unlike some health foods that require you to force them down, most people actually enjoy eating tomatoes, which makes this one health habit that's easy to maintain long-term. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to see more science-based nutrition content, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Drop a comment below and let me know how you like to eat your tomatoes, or if you've noticed any changes from eating them regularly. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.